So what I believe it could be a little master plan Musk has here, okay, is first he's like, well, let me start this turnaround process and make all the hard decisions here. So that's what he's obviously done with Twitter over the past, let's say, 6 to 9 months or so, roughly, okay? So he came in, did all that. So he's kind of like bottoming out the business, in my opinion. Now this new CEO gets to come in and hopefully have the business kind of be on the upward trajectory, especially in regards to the financial statements and the revenue and the profitability and those sorts of things, right? So this new CEO comes in and does that over the next 1 to 2 years. And then what I believe is going to happen is I believe Elon is going to take the company back public again. And maybe they'll be called X company or something like that, or maybe they'll still call it Twitter. We'll see what happens. But I believe then he could take it back public maybe in 2024, 2025. At that time, they could be showing revenues increasing again. Maybe the company's gotten close to profitability again then at that point in time, or maybe they're already profitable, something like that. And boom, he takes it public again, cashes out billions and billions of dollars of stock when he takes it public, right? Sells a bunch of shares and then goes ahead and has that money to maybe fund new projects or buy back Tesla stock, or who knows what he would do with the money. But I'm not convinced that Twitter is going to be a private company forever. I think there's a decent probability he could actually take the company public again in 1 to 2 years. I see the problem here, okay? Here's the problem. We have a market that has gotten so used to grouping everything together. Oh, all these stocks go up together, all these stocks go down together. It's a market. And we have a diverging market now at this point in time. We have certain stocks right now in the market that are 52-week highs. We got a lot of stocks that are 52-week lows, and we got a lot of stocks in no man's land in this market, okay? We're now back into a stock picker's market, meaning certain stocks are going to do tremendously well over this next 12 to 18 months. Certain stocks are going to do bad, okay? There's a big difference between a Meta that has an extremely exciting story for this next 12 to 18 months and an Apple that has a scary story about can they even grow iPhones over this next 12 to 18 months and a rich valuation on the stock right now, okay? There's a big difference. There's a big difference between an NVIDIA, let's say, for instance, and let's say an Intel, right, where NVIDIA is selling these AI chips that are going for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for one flip and flapjack and chip, and they have this overwhelming demand. There's a big difference between, let's say, a Shopify that has this tremendous opportunity of them just cutting expenses in a pretty epic way, and what that's going to do for their business model over this next several years, and what you're going to see happen with that company and their EPS and their net income versus, let's say, a Microsoft that, Microsoft's a great company, put up very good stable numbers, but it's not going to be the most exciting story in terms of net income growth and those sorts of things, right? So we have a diverging market here, folks, a very diverging market between stocks that are going to do okay, stocks that are going to do tremendously well, and stocks that are going to do bad. And these sorts of folks want to just group it all together, and it's like, you can't do that now. You can't group all these things. It's the price action's clear. The price action is clear in the market between stocks that are doing horrible and stocks that are actually doing great. You're going to see a massive acceleration in many of the biggest companies in the market's profitability in the back half of this year. I don't know, I wouldn't say Apple and Microsoft would fit that, but Amazon's going to fit that criteria after all those employee cuts. Oh my gosh, like what you're going to see happen with Amazon's profitability in 2Q and then especially 3Q, 4Q is you're going to see, in my opinion, exponential ramp. Okay, we're seeing in obviously PayPal now at this point in time. They just started this. I mean, look at their revenues were up like 10%, and look at their EPS was up something like 60% roughly year over year. When you look at it from that standpoint, this is something that's going to happen. Meta, oh my gosh, do you know what's going to happen? Meta is going to be reporting 30, 40, 50% net income numbers up over the next few quarters, EPS numbers up over the next few quarters. And those are stocks that obviously matter significantly to the market, right? So Apple, Microsoft, you could say, yeah, those ones are priced really rich and they might not have the most exciting numbers. But some of these other stocks that are kind of that next tier down, you're going to see a massive, epic kind of ramp up in their EPS and their net income. And so that's something that I think is very, very overlooked right now in the market and honestly shouldn't be. Corsair Gaming, CRSR. It's been an interesting past few years for Corsair Gaming. So this stock just hit a new 52-week high. At this point in time, this was one of those stocks that just couldn't get out of its own way. It was all the way down to the $10 range back about 9 months ago or so. 9 months ago, it was about a $10 stock. And so obviously it's come back substantially. It's now at a 52-week high in regards to Corsair. And the thing I think is important to understand about a stock like this, right? Because you're seeing a stock and you're like, wow, 52-week high for Corsair? And I know it is kind of shocking when you hear that, like a stock at 52-week highs. Well, other stocks still haven't even bottomed yet. Some stocks are at 52-week lows right now. It's a confusing market, right? It's not like, when you see 52-week high, you're expecting a bunch of other stocks. And actually, we don't have that many stocks at 52-week high right now. But you got to remember with Corsair, this was in the first group of stocks to start falling in 2021, right? This stock peaked in February of 2021. That was its peak. And then from there, it just fell and fell and fell and fell all the way to obviously the bottom back in April of 2022, right? So it was over a year and a half of just pain in that stock, right? And as somebody that's been an investor of that stock, it was a lot of pain to go through. And I thought I got really good pricing because most of my shares I was buying was in the $20 range, right? And I even got some, $18, $17, $16. And then all of a sudden it's at 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. And I'm like, wow, I paid, I guess, a bad price for the stock, right? And so this was part of the first group to fall, and now it's part of the first group to come back. Let's put it that way, okay? So what happened here with the numbers? Were these numbers good? Were these numbers bad? All those sorts of things, okay? The numbers were a mixed bag, in my opinion, okay? So here's how I left it, and I posted this actually in the breadcrumbs tab inside the Discord chat. I said, Corsair looks to be at the very early stages of turning around. When gamer and creator peripherals get back on track, hopefully the back half of this year, that should turn more obvious in terms of the turnaround for this company. And you can see this very clear in the numbers, right? If you look at the gamer and creator peripherals, that's down significantly year over year, right? 134 mil in the same quarter last year, 88 mil in this most current quarter, right? Gaming components and systems, very strong, 265 versus 246 in the same quarter last year, right? Margins, as far as gamer and creator peripherals, down, but you look at now components and systems, margins have started to go up and up pretty nicely, right? From 19.3% to 22.2%, and total gross margins have started to improve now at this point in time. So a stock like this it's becoming, to me, it's becoming evident that the start of the turnaround has happened in Corsair, okay? This stock is not in full turnaround mode. It's not like it's obvious. Once revenues start trending back up again, and then you get net income to start trending in a major way back, right? We are starting to see, it trend somewhat in the right direction in terms of net loss, right? But once this goes back positive, which should be very shortly here, it's in like the next quarter or two, and once you see the revenues really start to ramp up and get back to growth, that's the moment that the turnaround is then obvious, okay? Right now, you're at the beginning stages of like, oh, this looks like it's starting to turn, okay? Now, why is the stock at a 52-week high, before it's clear as far as a turnaround? When it comes to these turnaround stocks, as the turn becomes more and more evident and more clear, you're going to have more and more folks start to flood money in and to start to pile money in, and more Wall Street funds, more and more investors in general start to pile in. And by the time the turn's obvious and the revenues are up, the company's back to profitability, everything's great again, by that time the stock's already run huge, right? And by that time, Corsair is probably going to be, I would guess, $25 to $35 a share, somewhere in there roughly. By the time the turnaround is clear and it's like, oh, they made it. They fully turned this business around. Everything's headed in the right directions. The margins, they're back to profits. They're back to positive net income, positive EPS every single quarter. They're back to growing revenues and all those sorts of things, okay? So that's what you're seeing play out now at this point in time. The bottom, obviously, was the fall of 2022 in terms of kind of the ugliness of like, wow, are they actually going to be able to ever turn this around? And then as these last few quarters have happened, it seems more and more evident that the turnaround is here, okay? And it's actually happening, right? So that's Corsair Gaming.